You know, the most dangerous moment in any journey isn't the start. It's not even the middle, where things get complicated and the excitement has worn off. No, the most dangerous moment, the one that tests everything you say you want, is the breaking point. That place where you're exhausted, discouraged, and you've convinced yourself that nothing you do seems to be working. It's when your mind starts whispering, maybe this isn't for you. Maybe you should just stop. But here's the truth. Your breaking point is not the end. It's the beginning of real growth. That tension you feel, that frustration, it's not a sign you're failing. It's proof that you're stretching beyond the version of yourself that started this journey. You're not falling apart. You're being remade. Most people think they're losing when they feel this way, but in reality, they're finally close to something that matters. You don't get stronger in comfort. You get stronger in pressure, in chaos, in the exact moment when you want to walk away the most. The people who make it, the ones who create something real, something lasting, they've all stood in that same spot where you are now. They've all heard the same voices of doubt. The only difference? They didn't quit. They didn't listen to the fear. They took one more step, even when it hurt, even when no one was clapping, even when they were dead tired and still hadn't seen results. See, the universe doesn't hand out rewards for good intentions. It hands them out for relentless action, for persistence, for showing up one more time than you thought you could. That's when life starts to respond. That's when doors begin to open, not when things are easy, but when you've proven that you're serious about what you say you want. You can't evolve without friction. You can't level up without resistance. What you're going through right now isn't there to stop you. It's there to show you what you're made of. You may feel like you're breaking down, but really, you're breaking open, making space for the stronger version of yourself to rise. Pain has a purpose. Struggle has a purpose. But you only find that purpose if you stay in the fight long enough to discover it. That's what separates winners from quitters. It's not talent, it's not luck, it's endurance. The willingness to take another breath, take another step, and keep moving forward when everything in you screams to stop. You're not weak for feeling tired. You're not broken for wanting to give up. You're human. But what makes you powerful is what you do next. That's what defines you. Not your feelings, but your follow-through. Don't confuse difficulty with defeat. The presence of struggle doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're in the arena. You're in the place where the few are willing to go. Most people never even try. But you're still here. That says something. So if you feel like quitting right now, if you're listening to this because you're one decision away from walking away, let me tell you this. You're closer than you think. You're standing in the fire that forges champions. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to be willing. Willing to hold the line. Willing to stay just one more round. And maybe that next round is the one that changes everything. Stay in the fight. We all wait for motivation like it's some magical force that's going to strike us at the right time. We say things like, I'm just not feeling it today, or I need to get inspired again. But the truth is, if you rely on motivation to carry you through, you'll quit the moment it disappears, and it will disappear, because motivation is a mood, it comes and goes. But a decision, a real decision, is permanent. That's the difference between the people who make it and the people who don't. The ones who win, they decided. They decided they were going to finish what they started. They decided they were going to show up, even when it was boring, even when it was hard, even when no one was watching. They didn't need to feel good to do the work. They just did the work. Because they weren't waiting for permission from their emotions. And you can do the same. You don't need to wake up every morning with fire in your chest and lightning in your veins. You just need to remember that you already made the choice. You made a decision to chase something bigger than comfort, something more meaningful than your excuses. You see, your brain is going to give you every reason to stay where it's safe. It's going to say, you're tired, you've done enough, take a break, let someone else carry the load. But your heart knows better. Your heart knows that your potential doesn't live in safety, it lives in discipline. And discipline starts with a decision, not a feeling, not a rush of inspiration, a choice. Most people never truly decide. They hope, they dabble, they test the waters. But when things get tough, they fold because they never burned the boats. They never drew that line in the sand and said, this is it, I'm in no matter what. That level of commitment, that's where power lives. You can't let your feelings be the CEO of your life because your feelings will lie to you. They'll exaggerate your doubts, they'll magnify your fears, but your decision, that's your anchor, that's your foundation. When everything else is shaking and the moment you truly decide, everything changes. Not because the world suddenly gets easier, but because you get stronger. You stop looking for ways out and you start creating ways through. Your champion you've ever admired made a decision long before the world recognized them. They weren't always confident, they weren't always ready, but they were committed. They had already resolved that quitting wasn't an option, so they never had to debate it again. It was done, it was sealed. And that's the mindset I want you to tap into right now. The part of you that doesn't need a cheerleader, the part that doesn't need to feel like it, the part that gets up anyway, shows up anyway, keeps going anyway, because deep down, you know the goal is worth it. You know the struggle is shaping you. You know that nothing worthwhile has ever come without sacrifice. You think confidence comes from results, but it actually comes from consistency. It comes from knowing you did what you said you would do, especially on the days when it would have been easier to walk away. That's the real flex. That's the real power. Not talent, not hype, just unshakable commitment. So the next time you catch yourself saying, I don't feel like it, remember this. Feelings don't build dreams, discipline does. And discipline starts with a decision, one you make once and then you live it every day after. And that's when you stop hoping and you start owning. There are going to be days when you feel lost, days when the vision you started with feels blurry or maybe even irrelevant. That's natural. Every great journey has detours. Every dreamer hits that point where the excitement wears off and all you're left with is the grind. That's when you have to go back to your reason, that spark that made you begin in the first place. You have to remember why you started, but not just remember it, reignite it, strengthen it, give it more weight than your pain, more power than your doubt. You didn't start this just to walk away when it got hard. You didn't wake up with a dream in your heart just to abandon it because the road got longer than you expected. There was something in you that lit up when you saw what was possible. There was something that whispered, this is it. This is the path. That whisper came from a deeper part of you, a part that still believes in what's waiting on the other side of your effort. Maybe you started this journey to prove something, to yourself, to others, to the world. Maybe you wanted to rewrite your story, to break the cycle, to create something you've never seen before. Whatever it was, reconnect with it now. Let it fuel you. Because when your why is strong enough, you don't need easy, you just need purpose. Too many people forget. They get so caught up in the noise of life, the deadlines, the setbacks, the criticism, that they lose sight of the fire that started it all. Don't let that happen to you. Don't let your reasons get buried under your excuses. Dig them back up, dust them off, and then make them even bigger. Expand them. Let your reasons grow with you. What started as a dream to make money can evolve into a mission to create freedom for yourself, your family, your future. What started as a personal goal can become a movement, a legacy. That's how you make quitting impossible. You attach your effort to something bigger than your mood, bigger than your obstacles. When your why is shallow, it breaks under pressure. But when it's deep, deep enough to touch your soul, it becomes unshakable. It becomes the kind of reason that doesn't flinch when things go wrong. It becomes the voice that says, I'll keep going, not because it's easy, but because it matters. That's the shift. You stop chasing goals for what they give you and start chasing them for who they make you. You stop measuring progress in quick wins and start measuring it in resilience, in consistency, in the quiet decision to show up again and again because your purpose demands it. And here's something most people don't talk about. Sometimes your why needs to be rebuilt. Life changes, you grow, your circumstances evolve, and the purpose that got you moving in the beginning might not be enough to keep you going now. That doesn't mean you're off track. It means it's time to upgrade your why, to go deeper, to ask yourself, what does this mean to me now? Who am I doing this for today? What's at stake if I give up? Because let's be honest, quitting doesn't just cost you the goal. It costs you your confidence. It chips away at the belief that you can count on yourself. But every time you keep going, especially when it's hard, you reinforce that trust. You build a foundation that says, I don't run from the hard stuff. I rise to meet it. Reconnect, refocus, recommit. Because when your why is unshakable, your how finds a way. You ever notice how it's always darkest just before the sun rises? That moment when everything feels still, cold, uncertain, and yet right beyond that silence is the shift, the turning point. That's exactly what it feels like right before something big is about to happen in your life. But the problem is, most people quit right there. Not because they weren't good enough, not because they weren't capable, but because they didn't realize how close they actually were. Progress doesn't always shout. It doesn't always make noise or leave clear signs that it's happening. Sometimes it's silent, invisible, underground. But just because you can't see the results right now doesn't mean your work has been wasted. Roots grow long before the tree breaks the surface. The foundation is built in silence before anything impressive rises into view. And that's where most people mess up. They mistake the absence of obvious success for failure. They don't realize that the grind, the late nights, the repetitions that feel like they're going nowhere, that's the very thing preparing them for the moment everything clicks. You think you've been stuck, but you've been stacking brick by brick, layer by layer, and all of it matters. Every drop of effort you've poured in, every obstacle you've pushed through, every time you didn't quit, it's all been building something inside you that no one can see yet, not even you. You don't see the tipping point until it tips. You don't see the breakthrough until it breaks. That's why it's so dangerous to walk away now. You could be one more rep, one more hour, one more day away from seeing the very thing you've been fighting for. But you'll never know if you stop here. You'll never know what could have been if you let the discomfort convince you that it's not working. Listen, success doesn't come with a warning label. It doesn't show up and say, hey, just hang in there another 48 hours and everything will change. No, it shows up after you've proven that you're willing to go the distance without guarantees. It rewards the one who stayed faithful when nothing made sense, when everything in them said, just let go. The temptation to quit doesn't come when you're far away. It comes when you're close. That's what makes it so cruel. You feel like you've been walking forever, like it's not happening, like it'll never work. And right there on the edge of a breakthrough, you get the urge to stop. That's the final test. That's life asking you, do you really want this? Are you still willing to fight for it even when it's not obvious? And if you answer yes, if you push through that urge, if you keep walking when everything in you wants to sit down, Give yourself a chance to reach something most people never touch, the other side, the place where the struggle pays off, where the growth becomes visible, where the seed finally turns into a tree. But you'll never get there if you keep letting temporary frustration make permanent decisions for you. You've come too far to turn back. You've sacrificed too much to quit now. And maybe you don't feel the momentum yet, but it's coming. It's always coming to those who refuse to give up. Life doesn't ignore consistency. It doesn't overlook perseverance. It might delay the reward, but it never denies it to the one who stays in the game. This is where your story shifts, not because it got easier, but because you stayed longer. You outlasted the doubt. You kept going when others stopped. And that alone puts you in a rare class of people, those who finish. You've been planting seeds with every step, every struggle, and if you stop now, you'll never know what could have grown. So keep going, keep watering, keep trusting, because the finish line is always closer than it feels.